So I scaled my content business to 6 figures while traveling the world and also while not grinding 24/7, but to be honest, it wasn't always that way. And if you're a freelance creator, you've been promised the ultimate dream to be able to do what you love, to work on your terms and with clients that you love, but there's just one problem. See, because most creators can't escape the endless cycle of low-paying one-off gigs. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. One month you're booked out solid and the next you're just trying to scramble up gigs just to pay rent. And when you do have a client, you're doing literally everything. The emails, the invoicing, the editing, the shooting, you're literally doing everything, and also, by the way, trying to get your next job. But what if I told you that the most successful creators aren't working more, they're actually working less because they built a system? All right, so in this video, I want to show you exactly why you're stuck in the freelance prison, why just getting more clients is not really the answer, and the 4-step system that freelancers are using right now to transition from freelance life into a sustainable creative business. But before we get to all that, we first need to get one thing straight. So the number one thing keeping you stuck in that freelance prison right now is not how much you charge, it's not how many clients you have, it's not even how good of a photographer you are, it's actually something a lot deeper than that. So let me explain. So imagine I offered you an all-expense paid trip to Bora Bora if all you had to do was grow your content business to $20,000 a month by next month. What would you do? So most freelancers would say, well, I'll just work harder. I'll take on more shoots, I'll raise my prices, I'll pull a few all-nighters, and eventually I'll get there. And the thing is, you probably could this month, but what happens when you have to do the same thing again next month and the next month? And at a certain point, you're gonna break down from burnout because the only way to grow your income or even sustain your income is to continue to grind harder, which means that your income is attached to your effort. And here's where it becomes really bad, because the longer you operate that way, the harder it becomes to grow, which means that you become your own bottleneck for your business. Every time you're on a shoot, your outreach stops. Every time you're editing, you're not marketing yourself. And every time you're doing anything but shooting, you're not making any money. So it's super exhausting, and it's honestly why most creators burn out and quit after just a few years. But it's all due to this misconception that as a solo creator, you have to do literally everything yourself. But if your goal is not just to hit a 1-month record and kind of fall off, but it's actually to build a sustainable business that grows over time, that doesn't completely rely on you, then you have to be able to delegate and build systems around you that support that goal. So then the next obvious question is, well, what is this system? So it's a great question, but in order to explain it, you first have to understand what each core aspect of your business is so you can understand how to systematize it. So the first thing you need is a core offer, a no-brainer, something a client will be willing to pay at least $3,000 a month for. The second thing is a way to consistently bring leads so you can have conversations with people to pitch them that offer. The third is a way to predictably close those leads into actual paying clients, again at least $3,000 a month. And the fourth is that you need a way to deliver insane results to a client where they would want to pay you every single month, and ideally where you're not doing literally everything. Okay, so now that you know the 4 core aspects of your business, all you have to do is plug in systems or people to operate each of those core aspects so that you focus on what you do best and you'd have systems or people to run the rest of it. So what I'm about to show you is called the growth creator model. And so the first thing we need is a premium offer, something we can charge at least $3,000 a month for. So most creators struggle to charge premium prices because they're selling either photos or videos and they're not actually selling an outcome. So let's just talk about it from the brand's perspective for a sec. Do you think they care about how many deliverables you have or how high quality your content is? I mean, maybe a little bit, right? But they more so care about how your content is bringing them customers, period. So if what you're selling doesn't correlate with that goal, then it's kind of like trying to sell a pan to somebody who's hungry. Like, does it kind of help them get to the goal of not being hungry because they can cook their own food? Sure, but it's a lot of hassle and it's just a lot of unnecessary steps that the client wouldn't be willing to pay a lot of money for, or even anything, because they could just go to a restaurant. So in our case, instead of saying I'll sell you 50 photos for $1,000, we need to create a growth creator offer that actually solves the entire problem and gets the outcome that the client actually wants. So as an example, a lot of times creators are like, oh, I'll shoot content for your brand, but that's super low value, super generic. We don't know who the brand is, and we don't even know why they should care about the content or how it even helps. And instead of that, you can say I'll create high value, high converting marketing assets for e-com brands doing less than 10 million a year so that they can double their ROAS and have a more efficient ad budget. So hopefully you can see the difference between the generic positioning and the hyper specific targeting, and just that positioning change alone will allow you to charge way more because it's hyper targeted towards the client. It's a hyper targeted offer that's directed towards a core result they actually want. And as a result, you're not just a freelancer that shoots random content, you're somebody who actually gets some results and something that they're actually looking for. So now that you know what you're actually offering, now you can create a list of deliverables that you can templatize size you can assign a price to. And now you can not only know exactly what you're going to deliver to the client every single time, but you can also hire people to deliver on that for you eventually in the future, so you're not doing everything. Okay, great. So now that we have an offer that clients actually want and we can charge at least $3,000 a month for, now we need a way to predictably take people from being complete strangers that know nothing about us to actual paying clients. So most freelancers rely on things like word of mouth or just random inbound inquiries to get clients, but problem is they're super inconsistent. If you don't control where your leads come from, then you don't have any control over your business, and every time you have a conversation with a lead, it becomes a do or die desperation mode. And as a result, you end up discounting or adding a ton of deliverables that you probably shouldn't have just so you can land the client. So this is where the growth creator model really shines, because instead of worrying about if lead is going to find you or if they're going to send you a message or if you get a good referral, you can actually have a predictable system to bring in inbound leads every single week. So here's how it works. There's basically two main aspects. The first thing is that most creators are just scared to reach out to clients, or if they do, they send super generic messages like this. I mean, brands get messages like this every single day, so nothing about that sets you apart as unique or different or even somebody they want to hire. So instead of that, the growth creator model actually reverse engineers what the client's need is, and it positions you as the perfect person to actually solve the problem for them, meaning the brands are way more excited to work with you. So it helps you get in front of brands that actually need content. It allows you to create messaging where clients actually want to talk with you and they get value out of it versus you sounding just like you're desperate and wanting to pitch. It ultimately allows you to book calls with clients virtually on demand every single week. And the best part about it is it's extremely easy to automate or outsource at scale, which means that you don't have to be involved in the process at all. Now, the second thing that you can do, which is a little bit more advanced, is you can actually use content as a way to get more inbound leads. And I'm not just talking about going viral. Most creators think that if I just get more followers, then I'll get more clients because I'll have more visibility. And yes, you get a little bit more visibility, but you don't necessarily get more clients. And I know because I have built my following to over 100,000, and there's very specific tactics that work for getting clients, and most of what you see online is just for vanity metrics. So fundamentally, brands don't hire you because you're popular or you have a bunch of followers, right? They hire you because they think that you can help them grow. And that's why when you use the growth creator model, we focus on building authority building content, not just stuff that goes viral, because ultimately we want to show clients how we can help them grow, and they view us as the expert in the field and the only one that they should go to when it comes to solving their problem. And ultimately it positions you as the go-to expert for the type of client and the type of offer that you have, so that clients show up to your sales call already pre-sold on you and what you have. Which brings us to the next key system that you need to have. So getting consistent conversations with leads is really cool, but it's completely pointless unless you can turn those people into actual paying clients. Most freelancers are afraid to get on sales calls because they don't want to come off as salesy or they don't know how to do it. So instead they hide behind email or DMs, and they do their entire sales process through written word, which is a huge mistake, because usually what ends up happening is the client asks them how much, they send a rate card, they send a proposal, maybe some sample work, and then ghost. Nothing. So the question is why? Well, when you're working with high ticket clients, ones that are spending a lot of money with you, it requires a lot of trust. And what you're doing by not allowing them to get on a call with you is, first of all, you're blocking that trust. And second of all, you're allowing the client to control the entire sales process versus guiding them to a decision that's good for them. And ideally, if you're any good at what you do, that's working with you. So high ticket deals aren't closed with PDFs or media kits or rate cards. Like all that stuff can kind of help and aid in the conversation. But if you're selling anything $3,000 plus, you really need to be having calls with clients because they need to have more trust with you. And ultimately, you need to help them understand how working with you actually helps them grow their business and it's beneficial to them. So instead of just throwing out rates randomly after you Google searched, you need to jump on sales calls and have a very repeatable process for taking a client from somewhat interested to heck yes, take my money. And it really boils down to three main things that you need. So the first thing is that you need to have a pre-call brainwash sequence is what I call it. So most freelancers lose the sale before they ever have a call because clients are jumping on calls having no idea who the person is, what they do, how they help, or why they should even be on the call. So that's why before ever jumping on a call with us, I make sure all my prospects go through a pre-call brainwash sequence. And basically what this means is it's a simple and powerful 2 to 3 step email sequence that basically does most of the heavy lifting of sales for me. So all I have to do is go in and actually close the deal. So basically how this works is I'll have one email that explains who I am, what I do, and why it works, as well as maybe some social proof. Usually this will be some sort of video sales letter or offer breakdown type of video. And then the next maybe 1 to 2 emails will be case study breakdowns where I show previous examples of client work that I've done and the results that they've gotten. Plus points if you have quotes or if you have examples of content that has actually done really well and you can show numbers. And if you do this right, not only are you going to increase the amount of people that actually show up to the calls that they schedule, which is huge, but more importantly, they'll know who you are, why they're there, exactly how you can help. They'll view you as the expert, and ultimately they'll be leaning towards saying yes, so you're not having to hard sell them. So as you can see, this trick alone can literally double your close rate just because clients already know what they're getting into. So the second thing that you need is you need to have a predictable discovery call script that brings clients from point A to point B and positions your offer as the #1 way for them to get to point B. So the problem is most freelancers jump on these calls, they have no idea what they're going to do, they don't have any framework or script, and what they end up doing is just talking about themselves, the deliverables, their ideas, throwing out all this random stuff. Client asks how much it is, they say a range, oh, it's between 2 to 6,000. The client has no idea what that even means. They get off the call, they ghost. That's not what you want to do. So like we've talked about before, clients don't really care about you that much. What they care about is how you and your offer is going to help their business grow. So the key to actually closing these high ticket deals is leading the conversation so the client realizes that hiring you is the best way to solve their problem, and it's not that you need them. So that's why I use and I personally teach my mentorship students a very simple sales call framework. I call it Target, and it's very basic. Basically, it just establishes where the client is currently, what their pain points are, what they're doing that's not working. It establishes where they're trying to go, what is the future, what is the dream they're after, and then ultimately they ask you to pitch them on what your offer is, which ideally is just taking them from point A to point B. So instead of you just pitching a bunch of random content ideas and slapping a price tag on it, the conversation allows the client to realize, oh wait, I actually need this. Which brings us to the third crucial step of the sales system, because clients most of the time won't say yes as soon as you pitch. Usually you'll hear something like, we need to think about it, we got to talk to the boss, we don't have the budget, or some version of that. And most freelancers freeze when they hear this because they immediately interpret it as rejection and they let the client walk as a result, when in reality, the client very likely was probably still interested, they just had some questions that they need clarification on. But if you don't know how to handle those objections and have a repeatable framework, then it becomes very difficult for you to close those deals. So handling objections is not about convincing or hard selling or like twisting someone's arm to make them buy. It's really about just taking the questions that are legitimate questions usually that the client has and then reframing those around how that can actually get them success and how your offer actually brings them the success that they're after. Because ultimately that's what they want. They want to grow, and ideally your offer helps them do that. So it's in their best interest to actually move forward with you as long as you are actually good at what you do. So to recap this sales section, you need a pre-call brainwashing sequence so clients know who you are and trust you and are already willing to say yes before they get on a call. You need a predictable way to guide the conversation so the client realizes I need this by the end of the conversation. And ultimately you need a way to handle objections so you can close the deal. And when you do this right, your sales calls go from being this awkward, kind of weird, salesy, like what do I do next type conversation to an effortless, actually valuable conversation with clients that lead to sales. Okay, so now you got a client. Great, right? But this is honestly where most freelance businesses just break down, because instead of becoming an actual business, you become a glorified TaskRabbit doing literally everything. And at first it feels great because you're booked out, you feel busy, but then you start to realize that every client wants something different if you don't have a productized offer, so you have different deliverables, different pricing, and then you're literally doing everything yourself, and it's hard to keep track of if you don't have systems. You can't delegate it because it's all custom and it's all random. And when you combine this disorganized delivery with the first 3 things being completely disorganized, it becomes a recipe for burnout. So scaling is not about you working harder. Scaling is about creating a system that allows you to create repeatable, insane, crazy, amazing results for clients at scale, so they want to continue paying you over time. And then eventually you templatize that so you can plug other people in and they know exactly how to get results for clients as well, so that you can scale, get more clients, charge more, etc. So here's the basic way to do it. So the first thing is you need to templatize every process that you possibly can, so you're not reinventing the wheel every time you sign a new client. So this could be things like your invoicing process, your contracts, your onboarding process, even things like how you find content ideas and how you actually structure your day. And ultimately, not only does it save you time and hassle, but it also gets the client better results because you're more organized and they know exactly what they're going to get. So the second thing you need to do is outsource time-intensive tasks. So this is things like editing, admin, emails and follow-up, invoicing, like all that kind of stuff. Either get an automation or outsource it, because ultimately that stuff is taking your time away from things that you are probably better or more passionate about. And a lot of times people have this objection like, oh, I'm the best at doing it, or I don't want to hire somebody and train somebody because I can't find someone, or the client hired me, so like I can't have someone else editing because they hired me because it's my edits. But ultimately, if you hire somebody that's good, you can train them on your editing style and they actually add to your team versus detracting. And in a lot of ways, you get better client results as a result. And the best part here is you don't need to build a crazy huge team. You don't need like 10 people. You can get away with a freelance editor and a VA, and that's basically all you need. So just some things that I like to outsource in my business. So I have a freelance editor. I have somebody who helps me with captions, idea generation, and any other kind of VA task. I also now I have a sales team. That's somewhere where you can get eventually once you kind of dial in your sales process. But all of these things save me over 30 hours a week of my own personal time that I can devote to doing other things. Either it's shooting, or it's building the business, it's getting more clients, or doing whatever the heck I want to do. So at this point, I've shown you the systems, I've shown you the stuff that you need to create a successful business that's not just relying on you. And you really got two choices. Either number one, you can go and try to figure all this stuff out yourself, which I'm fully confident you can, because I did that myself as well. It took me 2 years, but it also cost me a lot of mistakes, a lot of frustration, and like, again, 2 years of my life trying to figure out why what I was doing was not working. And what ultimately changed for me after those 2 years is I just got fed up and tired of it. And I was like, I'll just find somebody who's actually already done this, has the systems, has the proof that they actually know what the heck they're doing, and I'll just plug into that system that's already working. And over the last 5 years, that's what I've done. I've iterated on that system and I've made it very hyper specific for me because I shoot for brands and I shoot for resorts. So if you want to plug into that proven system that's already helping creators make 10,000, 20, 30, even more per month without having to work more and take on more clients and more workload, then I'd love to invite you to the Paid to Create mentorship program, where I will personally help you build out all the systems that I just discussed so that you can scale a whole lot faster and cut out the learning curve. So I'll personally help you set up a system to get leads coming to you automatically so you don't have to rely on things like word of mouth or random inbounds. I'll help you set up an offer that you can charge at least $3,000 a month for, and clients will not hesitate to pay you for. I'll help you work less while making more because you implement systems and people to take a lot of the workload off of you. And by the way, you don't have to pay a whole lot for it. And ultimately help you avoid the burnout cycle and actually enjoy your creative business again. And of course, you'll have direct access to me the entire time. So ultimately, Paid to Create is my way of helping you implement this system so you can skip all the random stuff, all the trial and error, and get to exactly what works as soon as possible. So if you're serious about turning your creative skills into an actual real business, not just a random side hustle, then go ahead and click the link down below to apply for a free game plan call. We'll talk you through where you're at right now, see if it's a good fit for you, and even walk you through our system so you'll walk away with a clear game plan of exactly how to scale your business. And if it makes sense, we might even work together. So go ahead and click the link down there to apply, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.